Welcome back to Apex Sci-Fi. In the galaxy, we often equate progress with metal. Steel for our cities, titanium for our ships, and chrome for our bodies. We believe that as long as we have the forge, we have civilization. But on the planet Ferrum, the forge has turned into a funeral pyre. A self-styled warlord known as the Rust King has unleashed a weapon that strikes at the very heart of the modern age, Eater nanites. These are microscopic machines programmed with a single, terrifying directive: consume all refined metal and convert it into more nanites. In 6 months, the Rust King has turned 3-star systems into orange-tinted graveyards. Cities that stood for centuries have dissolved into piles of rust in a matter of days. Ships that attempted to stop him were eaten mid-flight, their crews left to drift in the vacuum as their hulls turned to dust. The Rust King sits at the center of this decay, protected by a swarm of billions of machines that only he can control through a neural link. Silas Vane was hired by the survivors of Ferrum. They didn't have credits, metal was worthless now. They paid him in the only thing they had left: information and the promise of ancient, non-metallic resources. To hunt the Rust King, Vane had to abandon the 25th century. Vane landed on Ferrum not in the Vesper. The ship remained in high orbit, its hulls coated in a specialized repulsive polymer. Vane descended in a glider made of pressurized wood and carbon fiber. As he touched down in the ruins of the capital, the sound was haunting. There was no wind, only the constant, low-frequency hiss of the nanites eating the city. Every lamppost, every skyscraper, every vehicle was a skeleton of orange powder. Vane looked at his hands. He wasn't wearing his standard tactical gear. He wore a ceramic wraith suit, a masterpiece of non-conductive, non-metallic materials. White ceramic plates protected his vitals and carbon polymer mesh provided the flexibility. But the face remained the same: the tattered black hood and the obsidian mask with the glowing blue visor. In a world where metal was a death sentence, Silas Vane was a ghost made of stone. He didn't carry a pulse rifle. The nanites would have eaten the battery and the barrel before he could fire. Instead, he carried a recurved bow with high-tension composite strings and ceramic-tipped arrows. He was a hunter from the pre-atomic age, walking through the corpse of the future. The Rust King's palace was a mountain of junk, a twisted throne room built from the fused remains of starships that had fallen from the sky. At the center sat Lord Krell, the Rust King. He was a man who had replaced his own flesh with a specialized, non-reactive plastic alloy, making him immune to his own plague. He was surrounded by a cloud of orange dust, his living shield. "You are a fool, Vane," Krell's voice echoed through a megaphone made of bone. "I have deleted the Bronze Age. I have deleted the Iron Age. You come at me with sticks and stones? I am the end of history." Vane didn't answer. He moved through the ruins of the throne room, his ceramic boots clicking on the glass floor. The orange swarm lunged at him, but the nanites found nothing to eat. They slid off his ceramic plating, unable to find a single molecule of iron or titanium to spark a reaction. Vane was a ghost in their programming. Krell panicked. He commanded the swarm to condense, turning the dust into a physical hammer. The orange cloud solidified into a massive, jagged pillar of rust and slammed into the ground where Vane had stood a second before. Vane was faster. He used a carbon fiber grappling line to swing behind a pillar of fused glass. He notched an arrow. It wasn't a standard arrow. The tip was a pressurized canister of flash freeze gas, a substance designed to drop the temperature to near absolute zero in a localized area. He fired. The arrow struck the center of the nanite swarm. The canister erupted, and a wave of frost turned the orange dust into brittle, frozen grains. The neural link between Krell and his swarm shattered as the machine's circuits froze. The living shield fell to the floor like sand. Vane stepped out from the shadows, his obsidian mask reflecting the orange haze. He drew his ceramic dagger. Krell scrambled backward, his plastic limbs clicking. "Wait. I can give you the formula. We can rule the sector. Think of it, a galaxy where only we have the tools to build because we have eaten everyone else's." Vane stood over the Rust King. He looked at the orange dust that used to be a city of 5 million people. He looked at the king, who had turned progress into a poison. "I'm not a builder, Krell." Vane's voice was a low, mechanical growl. "And I don't care about your throne." Vane didn't kill him. He didn't have to. He reached out and snatched the Neuralink controller from Krell's neck. It was a delicate piece of hardware, protected by a ceramic shell. Vane didn't destroy it. He recalibrated it. He changed the nanites' directive. Instead of consume, he set them to dormant. He turned the weapon into a statue. The orange dust across the planet stopped hissing. The plague was over. Vane left Krell in the center of his junk mountain. He didn't take him back to a prison. He left him on Farum, a world with no metal, no technology, and no way to leave. The Rust King was now just a man in a plastic suit, sitting on a pile of orange dirt. Vane climbed back into his glider and signaled the Vesper. As he ascended, he looked down at the orange planet. It would take centuries to rebuild, and they would have to find a new way to do it, a way that didn't rely on the steel that had betrayed them. In the legends of Farum, they say the hunter of the mask was the one who reminded the world that a man is defined by his spirit, not his tools. They say Silas Vane is the one who can break a king with a piece of stone. But Vane doesn't feel like a legend. He just sits in the cockpit of the Vesper, cleaning the orange dust off his black hood, looking for the next signal in the dark. This has been Apex Sci-Fi. The future is fragile, but the hunter is solid. If you enjoyed Vane's battle against the swarm, hit that like button. Comment below, if all the metal in the world disappeared tomorrow, how would you survive? Subscribe for the next hunt, the genetic architect. The Vesper is back in the dark. The hunt continues.